To start, so my name is Shakir Zainal. I'm head of Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund, and I'm delighted to host this session, which hopefully will be very interactive and very informative during this coming 1 hour. As you all know, you can all ask as much as question you can through the chat function, and we will do our best to, of course, answer as many as question we can today. But first, for those who don't know Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund, I would like to share with you a brief background about the initiatives that we're taking right now. طبعا the Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund is a federal government initiative by the Ministry of Finance, UAE, with a mandate, of course, to foster and promote innovation across UAE. The Ministry of Finance appointed طبعا Emirates Development Bank to manage and operate Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund. So as the EDP and Mohammed Bin Rashid have a lot of common goal to serve UAE agenda towards economic development and diversification in line with the UAE National Innovation Strategy Vision 2021. At Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund, we serve innovators through our two outstanding programs, the Innovation Accelerator and the Guarantee Scheme, under one umbrella, providing end-to-end mentoring and funding support. Through Innovation Accelerator Scheme, we give innovators access to the world's best expert. What makes it unique, طبعا, is tailored to their specific need and provide unique insights and advice on how to grow their business without taking any equity or fees. And through the guarantee scheme that we have, we knock down any financing barriers with affordable government-backed debt or any flexible repayment terms. طبعا, I would now hand over to Noor, the mic to Noor and Nabir and Louis who joined this session, and who will take you through more details about those fantastic programs and initiatives that we have. Feel free to ask as much as question. We'll pick the question on the chat board here and try our best to answer as much as question we can.
Thank you very much, Shakir. Good evening to everybody. As Shakir already gave you a background of the Mohammed Bin Rashid initiative, I would like to shed some more light and details on our guarantee scheme program, which is the financial arm of Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund. Through the guarantee scheme, we provide innovative startups access to affordable debt with flexible repayment terms. So the way this whole thing works is that after carrying out our thorough due diligence process and we approve the funding application, we issue a government bank guarantee in favor of one of our commercial partner banks in the UAE. So this guarantee actually acts as a collateral for the loan and potentially covers 100% of the credit risk of the transaction. So making this whole thing is really comfortable for the lender to disperse the funds potentially. We offer one of our unique selling point that we offer flexible repayment tenors, which can be up to 7 years, and within which we also offer a grace period. A grace period means it's interest-only period, and that's up to 2 years. I will now hand it over to my colleague Nabil, who will speak about the eligibility criteria and what makes you eligible to our program and the further benefits. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Noor. So in terms of the eligibility criteria, we're basically open to any innovative project or any innovative business that's willing to come to the UAE, either from outside the UAE or are already based in the UAE. And since this is a federal initiative, that means that we're not limited to any specific emirate. Like, we're not limited to Dubai. We're open to applications from businesses established in any emirate of the UAE, as long as they're incorporated in the UAE. Could be onshore businesses as well and offshore businesses as well. And the key benefit that, access to this debt finance, the key benefits this brings is that startups or innovative companies like, the technology companies, usually they raise funds with numerous rounds of, equity raises. And although these are great, but every time you go through a funding round, you end up, giving away shares of your business. You end up diluting shares of your business. So it's always good to optimize your capital structure, get a little bit of debt, that is non-dilutive, so you don't have to give away shares to the bank, provides you extended runway and provides you a boost of your valuation or company valuation for your actual big milestone funding round. And at the same time, although our government guarantee significantly reduces the credit risk, but because it's reducing the credit risk, it also reduces your finance costs. So you're not looking at, generally what SMEs, the interest rates they get in the market, usually get the best interest rate in the market because our guarantee enables that as well. So it makes it much more affordable in that sense. Now, in order to apply or through our due diligence process, it's quite a thorough process. We focus or we deep dive into a lot of areas, but it all comes down into three main areas, basically. That's where we focus on. So first is the innovation. We focus a lot on companies which are very unique, have a solid competitive edge over others. Your business or your product or solution is something that nobody else is doing, or you have a significant competitive advantage over them. You have to clearly articulate that. Number two is that we focus on businesses that can actually bring value to the UAE economy. So it's not just an innovative company coming from outside, setting up a rep office here and not having a significant presence, but we're actually looking for companies that will have a significant base in the UAE, will create a number of jobs, will contribute in whichever way they can to the UAE's GDP growth. And finally, we focus a lot on commercialization to look at how the commercialization will take place, what will be the timing of your cash flows, so that accordingly we structure the overall deal in terms of ultimately the loan you will get and how the repayment will take place. So that's on the guarantee scheme. Apart from such financial support, we also help startups with non-financial services through the acceleration program, where we do not take any fees or no equity there either. I'll hand it over to Louis with me here, who can speak about the innovation accelerator with you guys. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks, Nabil, and hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here and to see 47 people already attending this session. So Nabil and Noor already gave you an overview of the Guarantee Scheme initiative. I'll give you an overview of the Innovation Accelerator program, which still falls under the Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund. So just a little bit of background. The Guarantee Scheme was launched back in 2016 with Emirates Development Bank. So Noor, Nabil, and Shakir work for Emirates Development Bank. And it's one of the best programs that provide venture debt to startups, so financial support. And back in 2016, and Nabil, I think you can attest to that, you noticed a gap in the applications of the startups in the market, right? So a lot of startups, obviously, I mean, almost every startup needs funding, right? And you've noticed that there was a gap in terms of the way they articulate their value proposition. You noticed that there was a gap in their financials. You noticed that there was a gap in terms of the way they operate their business. And this is where the team realized that another initiative had to be put in place to further support the startups, but not from a financial side, but rather from a non-financial side. And this is where the Innovation Accelerator was launched back in 2018, so December 2018, and is operated by the Big Four company and consulting firm Ernst & Young. So I also work for Ernst & Young. So I have two hats today. I have an EY hat and an MBRIF hat. And it's been 2 years now that we've been supporting startups through different types of services, all non-financial. And I'm going to give you an overview of the types of services we provide. So we usually categorize them as 5 key services, and I'll tell you which are the most in-demand ones. So the first one is defining the value proposition and the business model. So this is where typically we look at businesses that don't have a lot of traction and are still exploring what their customer segmentation is, what their value proposition is. And this is where we help them in different ways. So we typically use canvases that have been developed by some of the best entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if the audience knows about strategizer.com or explain.com. So those are some of the key methodologies that some of the startups use. So the empathy map canvas, for example, or the value proposition canvas. And this is where we help our startups, not just by giving them the canvas to fill, but by also providing them the right methodology to fill those canvases and to have the right thinking in terms of being more customer-centric versus being product-centric, because that's something we've noticed a lot actually with all the startups we deal with. Most of them are so in love with their product that they forget that there's a customer that we need to empathize with, that we need to understand their pain points, their gains, and so on and so forth. So we really do spend a lot of time in terms of understanding their the customer of the startups, whether it's a B2B startup or a B2C startup. And this is where we do a lot also of what we call customer discovery sessions. So for example, if you're a B2C kind of business, let's say an app or an e-commerce platform, we would typically run interviews with random individuals that we feel could be interested in the product. And this is where we try to further understand the needs, their pains, so that we can elaborate and articulate the right value proposition for them. So that's one of the most in-demand service we provide. Another service is around the financial plan review. So obviously startups need money, but in order to get that money, they need to come up with strong financial assumptions. And, you know, as EY, we have one of our team, which is called the Transaction Advisory Team, which has a lot of experience in undertaking valuations and everything related to financial projections. So we typically involve that team to provide that service. And it's really extremely beneficial for the startups to have kind of a third party reviewing their projections, making sure the assumptions are solid. We even had some startups that doubled their valuations after going through that exercise. And that's actually quite significant. So that's one of the other key services we provide. The third one is articulating the corporate strategy. So this is where we kind of take a step back on the financials and the customers, and we look at the broader vision and mission of the company. So we understand that most entrepreneurs have an opportunistic approach to life. Obviously, you're dealing with a business, you need to be profitable, you need to grow, you need to scale. But at the same time, it's good to take a step back and to look at your mission. So what's your purpose? What do you want to achieve? And really, like, what we realize is that purpose-driven businesses are more profitable than opportunistic businesses that keep on pivoting and changing their identities and just looking for the best deal out there. So really, we try to come up with what we call a corporate strategy. Also, the reason we use the word corporate is because we want the startups to feel like they're not really a startup anymore. They think more like a business. With like a corporate mission, a corporate vision, values, objectives, KPIs. So those are the kind of things we try to co-create with our entrepreneurs. And that has been a really great service that actually we've seen a lot of startups use as part of their investor pitch deck. And we even have some stories of startups that received a check on the spot after this corporate strategy document was fully fleshed out. So that's the third key service. The fourth service is what we call access to markets. So as you know, the MBRIF is operated by Emirates Development Bank and by Ernst & Young. And we also have some partners with us, such as, for example, Microsoft, GEMS Education, and other big corporations in the business. So one of the key services, we introduce some of our startups to these big corporations. Now, it could be for two reasons. It could be as part of a customer discovery session, or to gain some market insight, or even as a prospect, so as a potential lead. So this is what also we've seen. There's a lot of demand for that, because startups usually, especially if they're B2B, have some struggle in terms of meeting different organizations, big corporations. So this is where we come in and we do the introduction. But just one thing to note is that we don't do the introduction randomly. We need to make sure that the startup is ready for that introduction. There's a lot of diligence in the back to make sure also that the corporation would have some interest in helping that startup. We also look at how the startup is going to present itself to that corporation. So again, we really try to make sure to optimize the connection, because obviously it's so easy to introduce people to one another, but what's harder is really to make sure that there's a win-win-win kind of situation, right? And this is where we really spend a lot of time to make sure that okay, we're not just facilitating a connection, we want to optimize that connection so that you get the best value from it, whether it's market insights or a potential lead. And finally, the last service we had is around people. So as EY, we also have a team called People Advisory Services, which has a lot of experience in terms of dealing with organization structure, creating a company culture, making sure you use the right channels to hire the right talent. And this service, to be honest with you, is not the most in demand, but it's been quite valuable for some startups, especially those that raised a significant seed round or a Series A. And again, that's just to show you the kind of breadth of services that we can offer as Innovation Accelerator. And like Nabil said at the beginning of the call, it's really a unique program. It's completely free of charge. I don't think we've seen that in other countries in the world, like accelerator programs that are free of charge. And trust me, I've had the chance to represent actually the Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund in Amsterdam. And I had the chance to meet also startups there, and they told me this is incredible. Like to have access to all this network and these mentors and these experts within the whole ecosystem, whether it's EY, EDB, or the extended network, for free, is just extremely valuable. And I can tell you, even startups in Europe were completely impressed with that. So no, that's definitely, I'm talking now to all the startups attending, it's really one of the best programs out there in terms of the value you get for what you give in return.
Great, excellent.
I hope that wasn't too long.
No,
Thank
perfect,
you very
perfect.
much.
As usual, Louis, keep listening to you, and you've been doing this every time we attend. I never get bored. So now we are to one of our members, Lamsa, and I think Badr's here. Very exciting, energetic, very positive, successful business. Badr, over to you, Habibi. Good luck.
I will do just a quick intro on Badr and Lamsa, if you allow me, guys. So just to bring all of this to life, as Shakir said, we'll introduce you to one of our members, the founder of Lamsa, Badr Ward, who is with us today and will share what he's doing to innovate the early childhood development in the emerging market and how their experience was with MBRIF. So a bit of Badr Ward, I had the pleasure to meet him personally here in Abu Dhabi, and he's instigated the industry of digital edutainment content for children across the Arab world. He's the founder and CEO of Lamsa, the MENA's first and leading edutainment brand and platform for children, which is ranked as the #1 application for children across more than 10 Arabic markets on both Google's Play and Apple App Store, and continues to produce and publish and deliver hundreds of interactive digital and AR content for more than 15 million Arabic speaking globally. On the account of this vast and diverse knowledge, Word, you're selected by the Word Summit Awards as the regional expert in e-content and innovation for instigating the UN agenda for the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals. So Badr, it's over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shakir, Noor, Louis. It's such an honor to be on this panel with you, and I'm so happy to see so many friends. Jose, you're a big fan, so we're going to give you a shout out. We all love Jose, and thank you everyone for being here. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about what is Lamsa, what drives us, what we're doing in the edtech space. And then I'm going to shed some light on the big elephant in the room, which is COVID. But I'm going to look at it and share with you insights on how we as an organization approached it and some lessons learned from our side. And then a bit about our outlook to the future. So Lamsa, I'll just describe Lamsa in just a few words. So I started Lamsa, as they say, out of the garage, not a physical garage, but out of home, with the idea that I had two kids. Judy, my daughter, is 13 now, and my son Adam is 11. As I've been in technology for a while now, and I've been, having tech devices at home, smartphones, tablets, and developing different things. Ever since they're young, I noticed that there's an attraction, there's a magnet effect between kids and devices, while everyone that's working in digital focuses on services that cater to youth and adults. So we saw that there's a clear absence of high quality content for kids. So this is how we started. While looking at the educational systems in this part of the world or across MENA, there are some gaps, especially when it comes to pre-COVID, pre-digital. There was very evident gaps. And when we talk about the market size of children below 13, it's not small. It's about 33% of the entire Arab population, which is about roughly 130 million Arabic-speaking children. So it's quite sizable. And then if you look at the broader emerging markets and the broader region, you see similar percentages of children, if not higher. So with all that in mind, we said, we need to make a difference. We need to cover that gap. And we launched Lamsa in late 2013. One of the partners that believed in us was MEVP. They've done a great job supporting us, believed in the vision. And that allowed us to, to set up the company, move it from kind of this MVP into a proper company. And as Noor said, we were able to build a brand. We were able to build a sense of trust with parents. So we always differentiate. So we've got two audiences. The parents must trust us, and we do a lot of work and genuine work to have or gain their trust. But at the same time, kids must love us. So it's an equation that's a balance that's not easy to kind of balance out, but we've been trying for a few years. That resulted in us building different engines or pillars that kind of like really make up Lamsa. And the primary foundation is our EdTech methodology, and then sprinkled with a lot of gamification and entertainment techniques using animation and game designs and music and just gamifying the whole experience. As Nabil said, I think one of the main things that really is at the heart and is part of the DNA of Lamsa is our meticulous attention to culture, values, and impacting Abu Dhabi first, the UAE, and then the broader region, the GCC and the entire MENA and across the world. So we've been able to engage with over 17 million children to date. And our primary business model has been subscriptions. So we've created a comprehensive distribution and partnership network with probably every payment method or every payment provider in the region, which is something whoever's worked in this region understands that's quite difficult. So I would say it's been a very, very interesting journey with lots of learnings, lots of challenges, but also lots of great partnerships. And one of the partnerships that I want to mention at this point is Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund. And as a lot of you have commented after hearing about their programs, as a lot of you said, this is extremely unique to find a government or a federal entity that's willing to support startups in an asset class which is not very common in the venture space or in the startup space, which is venture debt. And you know, startups are risky, and to have we applied for the guarantee scheme, which is basically unheard of in across the world, where the government on your behalf guarantees a large amount of money and takes the risk with you at a venture stage. So we applied thinking that, yeah, this is too good to happen. And we actually went through the application. They looked at, as Nabil said, we noticed a lot of emphasis from the MBRIF team on innovation. And I spent hours and hours, probably days and weeks with the team. And you know, you think that they're all wearing just a financial hat, but you realize that, you know, innovation is not just a name at Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund. It's actually in their DNA. And so I'll just explain to you what I explained to them. I said, we want to democratize early childhood development across the world. And then they said, you know, how are you going to do that? And I said, look, today, except for the very handful of pioneering schools that cater to a very small percentage of the elite, let's say, education still remains like a one-size-fits-all, okay? Regardless of the abilities, the individuality of people. And we want to democratize that. We want to change that. And if some of you here are into the education space, you know, I'm very sad that we lost one of the greatest visionaries of this age. His name is Sir Ken Robinson, just passed away a few days ago, who's made a huge impact on the way that we all think and we all look at his theories. He said something. He said that, you know, education doesn't need to be reformed; it needs to be transformed. And I truly believe in that. And now with COVID, we're seeing that actually happening. So that's, you know, a few years ago when we started partnering with Mohammed Bin Rashid, that's what I told Nabil and the team. I said, we want to transform this. I said, how are you going to do that? So we said, we want to be able to discover the true passions and optimize the early years of every individual child by, you know, looking at the architecture of how a brain of a child develops and how those neural connections get connected with each other to form the brain architecture, which is then responsible for a lifelong learning. And use Lamsa's existing platform or whatever we've built so far into kind of like a transformational approach that would really deliver on personalized fun learning for children to achieve their full potential. And so once we started digging into more details, that involved innovation across developing ECD frameworks, you know, defining learning objectives, outcomes, creating something called the learning DNA, which is all algorithms based, which requires tons of R&D, and then transforming that into adaptive learning using machine learning and AI, getting all the way into bite-sized content that are designed for individual progression, using, you know, as part of this experiential learning platform. And that was kind of the vision that we delivered to the team at MBRIF. And they said, okay, but why just the region? You're going to start from here. Do you have plans to go look at a broader region? He said yes, and we exposed our geographical plans, and we found them to be very supportive for us to take that vision and not just deliver it for Abu Dhabi, for UAE, Saudi, the region, but to actually look at other emerging markets and potentially be becoming a global play. And we found, a lot of times when you mention these things or these words to some investors, they get afraid. But what really excited me about the team here is I said, let's do it, yalla. And they've been very encouraging and very supportive in actually making sure that we execute on that strategy. Now, as everyone that's attending here, startups, investors, the ecosystem, everyone, we've all been hit by the pandemic, which we never anticipated in none of our business plans, contingency plans, sustainability plans. And I'm sure everyone approached it differently. I just want to explain to you a bit from what we've learned and what we went, how we went about it, and then also touch upon the role of Nabil, Noor, and Shakir, and how we all went about it together. So we took a few, as soon as it hit, we took a few strategic decisions on the spot that I'd like to share. I've never shared this publicly, but the team encouraged me to kind of open up and share insights. So I'm very honored and humbled to share with you some insights that have never been kind of publicly shared before. So one of the first things that we did was we said, we're gonna kind of look past the chaos and the uncertainty because we're all in it together. What we're gonna do is actually focus on 3 main components. First, our relationship with our customers, the parents. Secondly, our relationship with our team. And third is we're going to really, really push the innovation agenda. And I'll explain a bit of details about each one. Now, by doing these 3 things, I can share with you from before I explain details, that these strategies that we did actually resulted in multiples of hundreds % growth across all of our KPIs, whether it's sessions, engagement, entire engagement went up by hundreds of %. And I'll explain to you exactly what we did just out of kind of sharing lessons and insights with each other. The first thing that we did was we launched something at the beginning of COVID. We said we launched Lamsa's Hope Initiative, which we started very, very early March, which basically we said, we went up to the board and we said, we want to avail Lamsa free of charge for our entire community to support them because there's so much unknown and we want to be with them through these tough times and build trust and goodwill. And we did that, which resulted in massive, massive trust and goodwill development and enhancement with our customers. They really appreciated that. The second thing is we launched probably 3-4 products. So we launched a new product called Lamsa Studio. We launched, which allow kids to create content for other kids. So while they were sitting at home, they were actually, instead of just one way, they were creating content and sharing it with other kids in the form of helping them study. We did the same under Lamsa Academy, which allowed teachers to create content and publish it to their students using the Lamsa platform. We launched a platform and a destination called Lamsa Care, which basically focused on parenting and early childhood development techniques and tips. Ramadan came, and then we launched a massive campaign and an initiative and a program called Lamsa Khair, which basically, looking at families that were impacted by both COVID and Ramadan coming together. And basically for every paid subscription on Lamsa, we gave the chance for a less fortunate family to get access to Lamsa. It was a gifting program which worked really beautiful and gave equal access to a lot of people in society. Then our most, the grand product was something called the Lamsa Summer Camp. We thought about we thought about kids and what are they going to do? What are they going to do in summer sitting at home? So we brought an entire digital summer camp that includes everything that they would do in a physical summer camp to their homes using the Lamsa platform, which in the middle of COVID, we produced over 2,000 minutes of original programming across exercise, nutrition, health, cooking, do-it-yourself experiments, which was product and got amazing engagement results. Now, the last thing I want to mention is, or the second last, is we also, during this time, we worked on something called an assessment management system together with the Early Childhood Authority in Abu Dhabi, and specifically the Anjal Z program, which is transforming the way that we think about assessment and progression and developing the child profiles and intervention in early childhood development. So it's been awesome. We're now extremely busy launching a back to school program. Now, all of these programs that we did just throughout COVID really showed that, you know, if you focus on your customers and you push the agenda envelope, like if any of my team members, our colleagues are attending, they would testify, we worked at least 12 to 14 hours every single day from COVID, at the time COVID hit us until today. And we did it because we were extremely passionate and we thought innovation is our way out from this pandemic. And that's the only way we can make a difference, is being there for our customers and being responsible for the fact that we're in EdTech and we are part of the solution. And we were only able to do this with the support of our partners. I mean, you can't do that without having the right support, resources-wise, financially, psychologically, well-being, and all of our partners came together and demonstrated that we had actually established the right partnerships pre-COVID, which, you know, got tested through the toughest times. You know, culture and a lot of these buzzwords are nice in good times, I think, but they really get tested in the times of difficulty. And to that, I'd like to make a testimony on, you know, Mohammed Bin Rashid Innovation Fund was with us throughout the way. I received almost weekly calls from the team saying, do you need any support? How is it going? How can we help? Do you want strategy? Do you want support? Any type of support. And I was actually picking their brains, meeting with them on Zooms and having various discussions that were extremely positive, extremely supportive. And I'd like to thank them for that and just kind of say, this is a testimony. And for people that know me, they know that I don't say anything that I don't mean. And there's a lot of friends here. So I really say it and I mean it. They were absolutely there with us, as were other partners that allowed us to really deliver on this growth and leveraging the dynamics of EdTech and being part of the solution. And with that, I'd like to say thank you all for attending and keeping up with my talk. It was a bit long, but I really wanted to share some insights with everyone and make this valuable for your time.
Thank you very much, Badr. As usual, Yani, very informative, and I think, you know, you have been a great promoter, مثل ما يقولون. So thank you very much. So I think before we move to the booth and the expo, I think there are a few questions. I think majority of them were around would MBRIF be interested in connecting with the B2B startup from India or anywhere in the region. They were very interested to move into UAE, especially Dubai market and Abu Dhabi. So they needed the contact details and I think the address. So I think, Noor, you have an answer to this. I think we have our website, we have all the contact details of Nabil and Louis. So definitely, I mean, that's why we're here. We want to be attracting all these startups to come to UAE. And I think you can apply. I think we currently have a current cohort going on. The application for GS is always open. You can apply. I think I had a question maybe, I think we can take more questions when we move into the booth, but I think There's a question I was thinking about is how do you think the GS and IA working together will build that SME ecosystem for startups? How do you guys complete each other? So I wanted to hear from Louis to start with.
Louis, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Yeah.
Apologies, I was on mute.
One is non-financial and one is financial.
Yeah, so absolutely. And like I said at the beginning, I mean, the MBRIF started with the guarantee scheme, right? And it came from problems. The accelerator came from the problems we noticed from the guarantee scheme, because we hear all the time startups saying, I need funding, I need connections, but they're missing some fundamentals, the value proposition, the problem you're solving, who's your customer. This is something we've really realized a lot of startups cannot answer exactly who their customers are. And yeah, this is, I mean, I think for me, if a startup doesn't have the right traction yet, absolutely, it should start with the accelerator program to define the value proposition, to institutionalize the startup, have the right financials. And then absolutely, at some point, as soon as you start getting the traction and you have a good market presence, you have a team that's growing, then it would be the right time to apply to the guarantee scheme. And we do have a lot of startups that actually were part of the accelerator and are now undergoing the due diligence process of the guarantee scheme. So it is definitely, I think the combination of both initiatives make it a very compelling program and a unique program, not just in the region, but also across the world, I think. So yeah, definitely startups should be really interested.
Yeah, and I echo that, Louis. Like, what any startup would need is funding, infrastructure, talent, and market access. So when we are solving for the market access and the talent through the accelerator, the funding through the guarantee scheme, and the infrastructure through what the government is really doing. So we're really trying to really bridge all the gaps in the market to eventually support our startups.
Perfect. Okay, I think I don't know if there are any more questions, but I wanted to say something to Badr. Honestly, you know, during COVID-19, we were all breaking our fast in Ramadan in front of the TV. And actually, we were almost 24 hours in front of the TV. And interestingly, whenever the Lamsa was coming up through, you know, advertising on the TV, I was so proud telling, you know, the kids, these are one of the most successful, companies, startups that we supported. So, you know, we had that feeling of being a part of this success. So keep it up.
Thank you so much, Shakir.
Fantastic. Well,
Good.
If there's no more questions, just allow me to thank everyone. Thank you, Shakir, Louis, Badr. Thank you so much again. Such an inspiring journey. We're all very proud of you and proud of Lamsa. Thank you, everyone, on this session. We're going to move to our virtual booth. So if there is any more questions, any support, we're more than happy to answer. My colleague Nabil already shared the website and how to apply. You can just click on that. You'll see the application, and we have our email as well. Thank you very much, everyone. We will move to the virtual booth. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Can all the 41 participants can move to the expo. So if you have any questions, we can continue there. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Shakir.
Shukran.